What's up everyone, it's the Irishman. We made it back to the motherland. We're back in Dublin, back in Ireland. Today we're playing the biggest game we've played yet on the vlogs at our local club, the Village Green. This is where I first started playing when I was 18. Probably my favourite place to play in Ireland, one of the nicest places you'll play. I'll show you a bit of the casino beforehand. 5, 10, 20. There's a couple of crushers in the game. It's definitely not going to be soft, so we're going to be going to battle. Village Green is definitely one of the best places to play. If you're ever in town, hit it up. Amazing PLO games, amazing hold'em games. Tell them that I sent you. We're back here for the next 3 weeks. I'm going to bring you loads of cash game content. The Irish Open is next week, so we're going to be battling out there in the tournament. Should be lots of fun, so keep tuned and we see how we get on today. What's the story everyone? It's the Irishman. We're back in Ireland for the next 3 weeks, back in the motherland to play the Irish Open. So we're bringing you some cash game vlogs from our favourite place to play poker in Ireland, Village Green Card Club up in Tala. If you're ever in town, check out the games there. Tell them the Irishman sent you. We have a pretty decent game here today. It's 5, 10, 20 hold'em euros, so definitely the biggest stakes by far we've played on the vlog. There's definitely a couple of very, very good players in the game. It's not a soft game by any standards. We're into the game for 1500. Kicking off the first hand, there's a 20 straddle on the button before a very good player makes it $75 under the gun. Think we can go all 3 ways with this hand here. I don't think folding is bad in any sense, but we're not in it. We come here to play. I think putting in a 3-bet seems better than just calling. We make it 225 to go. The button straddler flats and the under the gun raiser flats, so we're heading 3 ways to a flop here. Flop comes down Queen 10 Jack with 2 clubs, so we flop top pair and an open ender. The original raiser checks to us and we decide to go for a check this time. Couple of reasons. The player on the button only has about 350 left in their stack, so if we check they might jam a lot of hands. We also, even though we have top pair, there's definitely a bunch of hands beating us at the moment. We don't want to play a massive pot with under the gun. He's definitely a very good player, so we can check for some pot control, see what develops. We check and the button checks. Turn now comes an offsuit 3. It gets checked to us again. Now we're going to start betting for some value. We fire out a bet of €250. Button decides to go all in for his last €355, and the under the gun player calls. We can't raise because the raise wasn't big enough, so we're forced to just call. We make the call. River comes an offsuit deuce. There's 1755 in the middle. Gets checked to us again, and now we decide we're just going to check it back. I think it's going to be hard to get value from many worse hands here. The next worst queen is Queen 9, and I don't think we're going to get paid by that. Also, we could be beat by the player on the button, so we'd be betting into a dry pot. There's no side pot to win, so we decide just to check it back. Under the gun player turns over ace queen to scoop the pot, so don't think we could have done too much different there. I think we saved money by not betting the river or betting the flop. We probably would have cost ourselves a lot more across the other streets, so nothing we can do here. We just got out-pipped onto the next. We add on another €500. We're now into the game for €2,000, which is about $3,000. The same villain from the last hand with the ace queen opens to 60 under the gun. I look down at king queen off again, the same hand. Think we have both options open here again. We decide on a flat this time. We just call the 60. The big blind decides to flat and we're going 3 ways to a flop. There's 185 in the middle and it comes down Jack 10 3 with 1 spade. Gets checked to us, and now I think we usually want to be betting this hand most of the time, but I think sometimes it's nice to check back a draw as strong as this. It's nice to be able to have the nuts when the ace comes on the turn. It disguises some of your draws. You don't want to just be betting all your draws, so I think at low frequency this is going to play nice as a check back with 2 overcards and an open ender. We check it back. Turn comes the king, giving us a top pair to go with our open-ended straight draw. It brings a flush draw on the turn. Big blind bet 75. Under the gun gets out of the way, and now I think we're not going to be doing anything here other than calling. We're very likely to have the best hand, but if we don't, we do have outs to make a better hand. We flat before the river comes. The ace of spades, it does bring in the third spade, making the backdoor flush get there. The big blind bets out $150. He's only 600 behind. I don't see us doing anything other than sticking them all in for the rest of his stack. We jam, and he pretty quickly lets go of his cards, so it's probably likely he was bluffing there. Unfortunate, we were hoping he had two pairs, something like this, that would call off and we get the rest of the stack, but we take down a decent pot. We look down at ace king off under the gun. Powerful hand here, we're going to raise this up. We make it €30 to go. Two players in middle position call, and the big blind makes the call. So we're going four ways to a flop here. It comes down a very good one for ace king. It comes king 7-2 rainbow. So super dry flop here. We likely have everyone crushed. We're going to continue with a very small c-bet. We fire out a bet at $35. The two players in middle position call, and the big blind folds. So we're going three ways to a turn here, and the turn comes down the ace of hearts. Now, I think, given that we block all of the best hands players can have, we're going to check and hope that people bluff. We hold an ace and a king, and there's an ace and a king on the board, so I think betting will just generate too many folds. We're going to check. There's two players behind. Hopefully one of them sticks out a bet. We check it over, and the first player in middle position fires out a bet of $125. The other player gets out of the way, and I don't see us doing anything here other than calling. If they do have a really good hand, say they had another two pair, we're likely to get a lot of value of that on the river anyways, but if they just have some random bluffs, some random floats that they had that just fired a turn, we're going to want to keep them in the pot, give them the opportunity to bluff with these hands. We just make the call, and the river comes to jack of clubs, so queen 10 does get there. I don't expect him to have too many of that. We check it on over again, and he fires out a bet of €150. Now we're not doing anything here other than sticking them all in for his last 400. We go all in hoping that he calls with a worse hand, but unfortunately he lets it go, and we scoop down another medium sized pot, but we're tilted again that we didn't get the last bit of value on the river. We wanted the whole stack, and unfortunately we didn't get. At this point in the game, the 20 straddle has become mandatory. We look down at king 9 of spades under the gun and raise it up to 50. Under the gun, one calls, and the small blind makes the call. So we're going three ways to a flop here, and it comes down queen deuce deuce with one spade. Gets checked to us, and we fire out a c-bet of $60. Where we have king high here, but we do have some backdoor spades. We're going to have a big range advantage here. We have all the aces and the kings, so we're not worried about under the gun one having a two. The small blind shouldn't have too many twos either, so we fire out a bet of $60, and only under the gun one calls. Turn now comes to 5 of spades, so we pick up a flush draw. I think now we're going to barrel this turn, and we're going to choose a big sizing. There's 280 in the middle, and we fire out a size of 200. I think looking back at it now, this is actually a decent turn to fire out some big overbets, because under the gun one is going to have a lot of hands that are 7s, 8s, 9s that can't withstand the heat, so we can fire out some huge overbets with our range advantage. Even if you look at, he should 3-bet ace queen, so his best hand is probably a hand like king queen, so we fire out a bet of €200, and he makes the fold. So we get the bluff through, well, the semi-bluff through there on the turn. There's 5 limps ahead of us, and we look down at red queens in the big blind. We're going to charge everyone to play here. We make €140 to go. Only the under the gun limp are called, so we're going heads up to a flop here. There's €360 in the middle, and it comes down king 10-5 with two hearts. We can go two ways here. I think we either want to check or c-bet small. We decide on a check this time. We check it on over to under the gun, and he fires out a bet of €125. We're going nowhere here with second pair. We do have the queen of hearts. We make the call. Turn now comes to 7 of hearts, so we pick up a flush draw. There's 610 in the middle. We check it on over to under the gun again, and he fires out a bet of €210. Same again as the previous three. There's still some bluffs we can beat, so we're going to make the call. We're hoping for some help on the river, or hoping that it goes check check. River comes to 3 of spades. There's now €1,030 in the middle. We check it on over to him, and he goes all in. The jam is only for €410, so we're getting a sick price on a call here. I think usually we should just flick it in, having the queen of hearts, but when I was looking at him, I thought if he did have a draw with a bunch of equity on the turn, given his stack size, he had pot on the turn, I think he would have just jammed. So say if he just had the naked ace of hearts, I think he just piles the turn instead of betting 1/3 and then jamming small on the river. So something to make me think that he actually has a pretty strong hand here, and given the price, like, he knows we're not going to fold anything, but that's actually making me want to fold even more. We're getting such a sick price on a call. What would he be bluffing with? I think when he limps under the gun and then just calls a big raise out of the big blind, he's more likely to have suited cards than unsuited cards, which leads me to thinking he can have a lot of flushes here on the turn. He could have flopped a hand like a set of fives. So given that I think we probably, in theory, should be calling this, but I think it's hard to find many hands that he does this with that we beat. If he just jammed the turn, I think we're always calling, but when he goes 1/3 and then makes the river jam really small, I just don't think people do this as a bluff. If he's looking at a stack on the turn and he's deciding to bluff with like the ace of hearts, I think he's just gonna pile. So we end up making the tight fold, and he flashes us pocket aces with the ace of hearts. So he was trapping pre-flop, done well to get away from it there. We saved ourselves €410. I think he was just trying to reel us in, make it small enough that we could never fold, and that is actually what made us want to fold more at the end. So done well to get away from it there. I think we couldn't have played it much different. I think most of the times we're usually just meant to lose on the river, but we got away from it. We made a read and it ended up being right. We didn't put him on pocket aces, but I thought he had a flush or maybe a set given how the action played out. So saved ourselves some money there on the end, which is always nice. We start this hand with about €1,600 and look down at the best hand in poker, pocket aces on the button. Under the gun makes it 60 to go before under the gun 1 re-raises to $215. We're loving the look at this. We're sitting there with pocket aces on the button. We're going to 4-bet here and we raise to €490. Folds back around to the original raiser and they decide to put out a 5-bet to €850. This is getting wild here. We're struggling to contain our excitement. There's nothing better than when you have pocket aces and there's just tons and tons of raises going in before the flop. Under the gun 2 decides to shove all in, gets back to us, and there's nothing we can do except stick in the rest of our stack. It's looking like it's going to be a 3-way all in here, and we have the best hand in poker. We go all in before the player under the gun decides to fold and shows pocket kings face up. So shout out Tom, that's a sick fold. I've never folded pocket kings in my life, so to make a fold with the second best hand in poker pre-flop and be good is absolutely insane. It's so impressive. We still have to beat one other player here. We have the best hand. We decide to run it twice, so let's see if we can hold.
That's a raise 8. Raise 8. English only,
That's the best foul I ever seen in the pocket from table.
I thought he had them.
So yeah, he's blogging us. Oh, what he's had.
How much did you have behind it? Don't mind me asking.
1,500.
That's why it means licked at the fold.
1475.
That's the
Would
fold.
it tick a bit less?
We're absolutely buzzing to scoop nearly a €4,000 pot. This is absolutely massive. It's like 6k in Canadian dollars. Biggest pot of the vlog so far, and we didn't even get the full value. What a fold from Kings. Very impressive. Well played, Tom. In this hand, we look down at Ace King of Diamonds in the cutoff and raise it to €60. Only the button calls and we go heads up to the flop. Comes down a pretty bad one for our hand and for our range in general. It's going to way favour the button. It comes 6, 7, 8 with 2 hearts and 1 diamond. We've 2 overs in the backdoor flush draw, but we definitely don't want to be doing much betting on this board. So we check it on over to the button and he decides to check back. Turn now comes another 6, pairs the bottom card. We check it over to him again and he fires out a slight overbet of €125. Interesting because I think a lot of his strong hands will be betting on this flop. If he flopped a hand like 2 pair or a set or even a straight, I don't think they're going to check back when there's 3 to a straight and 2 to a flush on the flop. So I think we're going to peel here. I think once I check twice, when I check the flop and check the turn, he's going to know that I'm capped to having a lot of hands like I have ace high. So it's a good spot with random hands like jack 10 and queen jack to just start putting a lot of pressure on me. So we make the call. River now comes at 4. It's any 5 now a straight. We check it over to him and he bets €320. I get very curious here. I don't know why he would check the flop with his good hands. I don't see him have too many fives. You'd expect to see them bet. So we make the hero call with ace king, hoping that he's bluffing with a hand like queen jack. And he turns over a hand we're surprised to see. He turns over pocket eights for a flop set that turned a full house. And super interesting that he checked back his set. Don't expect many people to check sets on that flop. I don't like to check. It's very dangerous. He should be just betting, getting value for his hand straight away. But we should have thought back to the aces hand. He obviously likes to play very trappy, so he actually can have these hands. But in game, I thought he was going to have too many bluffs and not enough value with the flop check. So we kind of owned ourselves there by making the ace high hero call. Middle position raises to €50 before we look down at the jam jars in the cutoff. We're going to 3-bet this here and we make it €175 to go. The button decides he doesn't want to leave us heads up. He wants to join the party and have some fun, and he cold calls the 3-bet. Not to miss out on any fun, the original raiser decides to come along and we're going 3 ways to a flop. $525 in the middle and it comes down 8-6-3 with 2 diamonds. So we have an overpair here, but we do need some protection. We're going to be betting our hand. We're going to use a bit of a bigger size than usual in the 3-bet pot. There's a lot of bad cards that can come on the turn, so we fire out a bet of €230. The button gets out of the way and the original raiser calls. Turn comes to 2 of diamonds, so the front door flush gets there. We do have the jack of diamonds in our hand, and he decides to lead out and go all in for €530. We're not loving this, but we are getting 3-1 on our money. If we are behind to a flush or a set, we sometimes will have outs with the jack of diamonds unless he has a bigger flush. But given the size of the pot and the size of the all-in, I think we probably can't fold. So we stick it all in. We call the 530. He turns over 6-7 of diamonds. So he has a flush. We're hoping to hit on the river. River bricks out. It comes an offsuit 4 and we miss. So we got it in bad shape on the turn. But I don't think with the turn shove size and with the amount of money in the pot, I don't think we could have folded. Unfortunate that he turned the flush on us in the 3-bet pot. So on to the next one. In this hand, we're in the cutoff. The hijack raises to $75. We look down at pocket tens. Player in question doesn't usually play hold'em. He usually plays very high stakes PLO. We've seen him show down a couple of loose calls and 3-bet pots. He's not afraid to battle. I've seen him call with 7-5 suited. So we're going to 3-bet this up here. We make it $225 to go. He makes the call. He's not afraid of the battle. So we're going heads up to a flop with pocket tens and it comes down 9-7-6 with 2 diamonds. We do still have an overpair, but it's definitely a dangerous flop. He could have some 2 pairs and some sets, but pocket tens isn't a hand we're going to want to check back here. It needs a lot of protection. There's a lot of bad overcards that can come on the turn, so we fire out a c-bet of $175. He flicks in the call pretty quickly. The turn now comes another 6 pair in the bottom card. Kind of a good card in the sense that it does, if he did have a hand like 9-7, we do now beat that 2 pair. I think he also can have some 6s, but there's not that many of them left. He can definitely have a bunch of draws, but we're going to want to keep betting for value for the same reason as before. We definitely don't want to see some overcards roll off. He can have some overcards with some flush draws, so we fire out a bet of €275. He goes into the tank for a few before eventually check raising to €875. This is virtually an all-in sizing because we have 1100 back, so it's basically 900 and we've 200 behind, so it's basically putting us all in. So now we have a decision to make here. Do I think this player is capable of bluffing the turn? The answer is yes. I think they also know we're not going to have any 6s when they should have some 6s, so if they did have a draw, they're more than likely going to use this as a card that they'll attack us with on the turn. I think it's a good turn card to put in, big check raises. It's going to put a lot of our hands in tough spots. They're repping essentially some full houses, but I think a decent amount of the full houses might also just check call, and obviously some of them are going to check raise and some 6s. So with pocket 10s here, I think maybe we would have wanted to have a bigger overpair to make the call, but in game we ended up leveling ourselves into thinking that he's going to have enough bluffs here and we're just going to stick the rest in, because if we call we've 200 behind, there's thousands in the pot, it's basically an all in anyway, so we decided to go all in and get snap called. Probably not the best news, but any hand that he raises is not folding for 200 more. So we're hoping it's a big combo draw that we're still ahead of. But we get the bad news when he turns over 5-6 suited for turn trips. I think we might have punted off that hand. We maybe should have just folded the turn. I think we also could check, but what led me to not checking was that we needed protection from overcards. I think if I had a hand like aces or kings, they make better checkbacks on the turn. So I'm not sure if I could have played this differently. I think maybe folding the turn is probably the better play, but that could be being results orientated. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think. Would you have folded the turn? Would you have checked the turn? Did I make a massive punt here? We torched off thousands in that hand, so that's obviously not ideal, but hand, we're going to reload again. We're in for another €1,000. We're now into the game for 3,000. We're stuck 2k. Let's see if we can get some of it back. In this hand, there's a raise to 60 under the gun before we look down at pocket nines on the button. Easy call for us here. The big blind comes along as well, and we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes down 5-4-3 rainbow. It gets checked to us, and now I think we want to bet small for protection here. There's a lot of bad overcards that can come, so we fire out a bet of €60. Only the big blind calls, and we're going heads up to the turn. There's 315 in the middle, and it comes the 5 of diamonds, bringing in a flush draw and pairing the top card. Gets checked to us again, and now I think we probably want to check back. Yeah, there is a bunch of bad overcards that can come, but the 5 is definitely going to hit the big blind. He can have a bunch of strong hands on this board. I think we're going to get check raised a lot by bluffs and then have to fold. He can have a lot of 5, so I like checking back the turn and bluff catching the river. We go for the check back, and the river comes in offsuit 7. So now any 6 makes a straight. Big blind bets €270 to send us into the tank. I think this is very villain dependent. If we think the opponent can turn pairs into bluffs, we're going to want to call. If we think they can't turn pairs into bluffs, then we're going to want to fold, because we probably just have a 5 or a straight. So the player in question is definitely a very good player. So knowing that Glenn can turn pairs into bluffs here, I think nines is just going to want a bluff catch. He's going to have enough 4s and 3s that we will win against. So we flick in the call, and he turns over ace-3 off for a bluff. I knew he was good enough to fire with second and third pairs, turn these hands into bluffs, so that's what influenced my decision to make the call, and we scoop down a decent sized pot. And for the final hand of today's session, we look down at black pocket aces. We're hoping they're good for us like they were earlier in the session. We make a 60 to go on the cutoff. The button makes the call, and we go heads up to the flop. It's down queen 5-3 rainbow. We fire out a small c-bet of 50. He makes the call before the turn comes in offsuit 6. Now I think we're going to check our aces here. We're hoping that he has some floats that he can bluff with. If he does have a hand like Queen X, we're going to get some value from it regardless. So I think checking and letting him bluff seems to be the better play here. We check it on over to him, and he fires out a bet of 150. We're not doing anything here other than calling. We make the call before the river comes another 6. We're very confident we have the best hand. We check it on over to him again, hoping that he sticks in the rest of his stack with a bluff or with a queen. We check it on over to him, and he fires all in for his last 400. We snap call, and he turns over 7-8 of clubs for floating the flop with some backdoors. He picks up an open ender on the turn, fires the turn, and then blasts off on the river. Very reasonable bluff. I think that's how he's going to want to play that hand. I don't think he can do anything else with a high. We're just lucky we had top of our range aces, get the snap call, and pick up the stack. We're going to wrap up the session here. Pretty eventful session today. Not one good for the heart, but good for the content. It was a very swingy day. We were down 1,500 early, then up 2k, then down 2k to finish back up to essentially break even. We were into the game for €3,000, out for 2,680 for a loss of €320, which is virtually break even when the blinds are €20. So I think we misplayed probably 1 or 2 hands, but bar that, I think we played solid enough. It was a decent game, fun to be back in Ireland, fun to be playing a bit higher stakes than usually you'd see over here. Good warm up for next week, so I'll see you now at the outro. For the outro, coming at you from like any good Irish person out the back garden, we have a bar. So to wrap up the session, we were in the game for 3,000 and out for 2,680, I think it was, for a loss of €320, which pretty much break even when it's 5, 10, 20 for most of the game. Definitely was a tougher game than a lot of games you'd play, but good to win a battle against some good players at some stakes that give you a little tingle in the big pot, so that's always That's always good. If you enjoyed this vlog, please like and subscribe. We've plenty of more stuff coming up. The next week is the Irish Open. We've a bunch of big tournaments, a bunch of big cash games. We're going to be in the mix, trying to win a trophy, trying to win all the money, having a couple of Guinness, playing a private game with some friends. We usually do it every year at the Irish Open. It's usually mayhem. Everyone is twisted. It's probably not poker, but it's definitely a lot of gamble, so I think people would like to see that. I'm going to be dropping the link below for my Instagram and my Only Poker page. Check out both. I'm going to have live updates every day from out at the tournaments, so keep it locked and I will see you soon. Thanks.